Wireless networking. Now, transmitting a signal using the typical 802.11 specification works a lot like it does with the basic Ethernet hub. So this wireless specification, which is comes under the Ethernet IEEE 802.11 standards, it is actually a wireless, but basically it works like a Ethernet hub. What Ethernet hub do? Hub actually do the broadcast. That means when data comes to the hub, it do send the data to every port, every other port of that hub. So it do the broadcast to every other port of that hub. Now because it is wired network, it goes on to different ports. Same as in wireless network, when the data comes and goes, it actually goes and comes by using the broadcast, because there is no wire, there is no directional. So it do send the data to everywhere within the range. So it is basically doing the broadcast, and that is why we can say it works like a Ethernet hub. So there are both two ways forms of communication, and they both use the same frequency to transmit and receive, and are often referred to as hard duplex. And wireless LANs, that is WLANs, use radio frequencies, that is RFs, that are radiated into the air from an antenna that creates radio waves, and these waves can be absorbed, refracted or reflected by walls, water and metal surfaces, resulting in low signal strength. So because of this vulnerability to surrounding environmental factors, it is pretty apparent that wireless will never offer us the same robustness as the wired network, as a wired network can. But that still doesn't mean we are not going to run a wireless. We still going to run the wireless, because it is easy to implement, easy to set up and easy to change also. If suppose you are setting up the wired connections, so you have to pre-plan the devices, like you have to pre-plan that where your devices will be and how you are going to run all the cables through these devices. Now if suppose you change the design of your devices, if you move the device from one place to other place, then you have to change the whole wiring. But it is not the case in wireless network. It is very easy to set up, because there is no wire. You can just set up any way you want, and then again you can change the devices any way you want, because there is no wire you have to change. So it is having a problem of the different environmental factors to reduce the strength, but we can increase the transmitting power and gain a greater transmitting distance, but doing so can create some nasty distortion. So it has to be done carefully. By using higher frequencies, we can attain higher data rates. So by increasing the frequency, we can get over with these environmental factors. But because when we increase, it will give the distortion also. So we have to be careful. But this is unfortunately at the cost of decreased transmitting distance. That means when we increase the frequencies, we cannot go more distance. So we have to compromise about the distances. And if we use low frequencies, we get to transmit greater distances but a lower data rate. So speed will decrease, but the data we can go to more distance also. So WLANs transmit over radio frequencies, and they are regulated by the same types of laws used to govern things like AM and FM radios. And this Federal Communication Commission (FCC) that regulates the use of wireless LAN devices, and the Institute of Electronic and Electrical Engineers takes it from there and creates standards based on what frequencies the FCC releases for public use. So basically it was not for these radio frequencies previously, apart from AM and FM, it was not available for public use. So now what Federation, this FCC, Federal Communication and Commission regulates it, do what? They make available some frequencies to public. And after that IEEE start making standard for those frequencies. And after that the vendors, the hardware vendors start making those devices for that frequencies or for that standards. So the FCC has released 3 unlicensed bands for public use. Unlicensed, that means for these bands we don't need to have a license, because these frequencies are free. Now they have made this available to use for public. 900 megahertz, 2.4 gigahertz and 5.7 gigahertz. So this 900 megahertz and 2.4 gigahertz bands are referred to as the industrial, scientific and medical bands, that is ISM band. And the 5 gigahertz band is known as the unlicensed National Information Infrastructure band, UNII band. To deploy wireless outside of the 3 public bands, you need to get a specific license from FCC to do so. Once the FCC opened the 3 frequency ranges for public use, many manufacturers were able to start offering myriad products that flooded the market. And with 802.11 B and G begins the most widely used wireless network found today. So the Wi-Fi alliances grants certification for interoperability among 802.11 products offered by various vendors. So IEEE 802.11 was the first original standardized WLAN at 1 and 2 Mbps, and it runs in the 2.4 gigahertz radio frequency and was ratified in 1997. Even though we didn't see many products pop up until around 1999 when 802.11b was introduced. So after 1999 we start seeing lots of devices, lots of wireless devices after this 802.11b standard introduced. Now, factor affecting the wireless signals. So there are some factors which affects the wireless signals. Because wireless signals travel through the atmosphere, they are susceptible to different types of interference than standard wired networks. Interference weakens wireless signals and therefore is an important consideration when working with the wireless networking. These are some factors we have, like physical objects. Physical objects like trees, machinery, buildings and other types of structures are some of the most common sources of interference. Then radio frequency interferences. Wireless technology such as 802.11bg use an RF range of 2.4 gigahertz, and so do many other devices such as cordless phones, microwaves and so on. So devices that share a channel can cause noise and weaken the signals. So because this uses the same frequency same as the other devices, so it can do interfere with the other device's frequency, and in that case it can weaken the signal. Then electrical interference is also there. This electrical interference comes from devices such as computers, refrigerators, fans, lighting fixtures or any other motorized device. Then environmental factors. These weather conditions can have a huge impact on wireless signal integrity. Lightning, for example, can cause electrical interference, and fog can weaken the signal as they pass through. 802.11 wireless standards. Now 802.11 represent IEEE designation for wireless networking, and several wireless networking specifications exist under this 802.11 banner. So we focus on 802.11 A, B, G and N. All these standards use the Ethernet protocol and the CSMA/CA access method. First, 802.11. There are actually 2 variants on the initial 802.11 wireless standard. Both offer 1 or 2 Mbps transmission speed and the same RF of 2.4 gigahertz. The difference between the two was in how data traveled through the RF media. One used FHSS and the other used DSSS. The original 802.11 standard are far too slow for modern networking needs and are now no longer deployed. So what we use now is 802.11a, b, g and n. First 802.11a. In terms of speed, the 802.11a standard was far ahead of the original 802.11 standard. 802.11a specified speed up to 54 Mbps and in the 5 GHz band, but most commonly communication takes place at 6 Mbps, 12 Mbps or 24 Mbps. 802.11a is incompatible with 802.11b and 802.11g wireless standard. That means it will not be compatible with this B and G standard. 802.11b. This 802.11b standard provides for a maximum transmission speed up to 11 Mbps. However, devices are designed to be backward compatible with the previous 802.11 standards that provides for a speed of up to 1 to 2 Mbps and 5.5 Mbps. 802.11b uses a 2.4 GHz radio frequency range and is compatible with 802.11g also. So this one is also backward compatible and it can also compatible with G standard. But it can give up to a speed up to 11 Mbps. Then we have 802.11g standard. This is a popular wireless standard today. This 802.11g offers wireless transmission over distance of 150 feet and speeds up to 54 Mbps compared with the 11 Mbps of the 802.11b standard. Like 802.11b, 802.11g operates in 2.4 GHz range and therefore is compatible with it. So because they are using same band, they are compatible, but this 802.11 uses 5 GHz band, so it is not compatible with this B and G. Now 802.11n. This is the newest of the wireless standard listed in the networking objects is 802.11n. The goal of the 802.11n standard is to significantly increase throughput in both the 2.4 GHz and the 5 GHz frequency ranges. The baseline goal of the standard was to reach speed up to 100 Mbps, but given the right condition, it is estimated that the 802.11n speeds might reach a staggering 600 Mbps. In practical operation, 802.11n speeds will be much slower. That means it is designed to reach up to 100 Mbps, but if you have a good conditions without no interference, then it can go up to 600 Mbps also. But depend on your conditions, it can be slow. This is a comparison table we can see. It have a normal, the basic one, the 802.11. So this basic one uses 2.4 GHz radio frequency, speed up to 1 to 2 Mbps. It supports these topologies, ad hoc or infrastructure, transmission rate to 20 feet. Uses the same CSMA/CD, CSMA/CA access method. A11A goes up to uses the 5 GHz band, goes up to 54 Mbps, uses the same topology. It can go up to 25 to 75 feet. Ranges can be affected by the building material using the same method. 11B uses 2.4 GHz up to 11 Mbps speed. It will give same topology, but it can range 150 feet, and also range can be affected by the building's material. Same access method it uses. G uses 2.4 GHz. It can give up to 54 Mbps speed. Same topology. Up to 150 feet range. Same access method. And the 11N can work with both 2.4 and 5 GHz and can go up to 600 Mbps. And also it gives you more distance also, that is 175 plus feet. Indoor range can be also affected by building. Same access method it also uses. Then the next thing is access point, wireless access point. Wireless access point is both transmitter and receiver. These transmitter and receiver device used for wireless LAN, WLAN, radio signals. An AP typically is a separate network device with a built-in antenna, transmitter and adapter. APs use the wireless infrastructure network mode to provide a connection point between WLANs and a wired Ethernet LANs. APs also typically have several ports giving you a way to expand the network to support additional clients. Depending on the size of the network, one or more APs might be required, and additional APs are used to allow access to more wireless clients and to expand the range of the wireless network. Each AP is limited by a transmission range, the distance a client can be from an AP and still get a usable signal. The actual distance depends on the wireless standard being used and the obstructions and environmental conditions between the client and the AP. Now, the device which we use, it is called AP, and also we call it normally we call it wireless router also, because it do such a job of wireless router also. That is why we call this AP device as a wireless router. But the real name for this device is wireless access point, and it do what? It do communication between different devices here. And the range of these devices, it depends on the technology it is using, which standard it is using, 802.11a, so whatever the standard it is using, based on that it will get the range. So within the range, those devices can do the communication through this AP. So this is the wireless networks we have, and this is the standards and frequency ranges they use. So in the wireless networking, this is 802.11 standard is used with the additional standard when it comes, like after 1999 we have started seeing much devices, and the standard was 802.11 A, B, G, and N. And remember, it still works like a hub because it works based on the broadcast, and also speeds and distance depend on the environmental factors like surrounding and environmental factors like walls, waters and metal surfaces.